Hello and welcome back to Fist Entertainment for my next review of 1995's sci-fi erotic horror thriller, Species. This film has been looked at as the sexiest thriller of all time. Now, do I agree with that? To a point. I would say, yeah, it's a pretty sexy thriller. But what I say is the sexiest thriller of all time, debatable, but it's definitely in the top 5 for sure. Now, I could read the plot synopsis, but I'm not going to. I'll just tell you what the movie's about in a vague way. Very short and sweet. A group of scientists have to go after a scientific experiment that combines human and alien DNA that created a subject. The subject had escaped captivity. Sorry, had not really captivity, but escaped its makers, basically. Escaped its makers and is loose in the world. Fearing that the world's not prepared for it, a task force led by a government contracted bounty hunter and a group of experts in their own fields of science have to track down basically a half human, half alien, I guess humanoid, alienoid. And we find out that this alien, or what for lack of a better word, wants to impregnate with a human to create a whole new species. And basically, this task force is sent out to kill this subject. And what comes around is a cat and mouse game of the suspect being one step ahead of the task force, and eventually we do catch up to the alien suspect and all that stuff, and take the alien out. Now, what this movie kind of reminds me of in a lot of ways is one of those old creature features back in the 1970s and 80s, mostly in the 1970s. It kind of reminds me of one of those, and it's quite a fun movie. Now, this film was so good it even launched its own franchise known as the Species franchise, which contains 4 movies. But none of them could ever beat the first one. The landmark movie Species has always been the best one of them. Now, I have owned this movie in Blu-ray before, but the quality of this particular 4K outdoes any MGM Blu-ray release or Sony release of the past. Now, my opinion of the film. I have a history of owning this movie. I originally owned it on VHS. Then I owned it on DVD. Then I owned it on Blu-ray. Then I owned it again on an MGM Blu-ray. So I originally had the Sony Blu-ray from the first generation of Blu-ray back in 2007. And then I got the, I believe it was 2010 Blu-ray, the MGM release. So I have a long history of this movie, and I have always loved the shit out of this movie. This is one of my favorite sci-fi horror films. I put it way up there with films like The Fly by David Cronenberg, or something like that. Something that has a lot of creature effects. I also would put it toe to toe with something like The Thing by John Carpenter. It's actually quite a creature-driven movie that's very, very, very good. Now let's talk about the quality of the film. Well, first let's talk about the quality of the film over time. The VHS quality was pretty good. In my opinion, was quite literally reference quality. Whenever you watched Species on VHS, with Adobe Surround Pro Logic sound system, it was literally reference quality. It felt like you were at the theaters with it, because it really used the Pro Logic sound technology to its benefit. Then DVD came out, and this is where it took a step down. This is not the first movie to do it. And the other film that do it was Fright Night, so I think you know where this is going. Granted, we'll be reviewing Fright Night again, because there's a 4K release of it, and it's significantly different. And actually did for that release what this one did for this release. The DVD had this fucking problem. It didn't have surround effects on it. Everything was all front. Everything was all in the front and on the sub. And you had a DTS sound presentation on the DVD, and that's what it was. I think the only thing it really had was like a little bit of echo going on in the surround speakers when they were, in the sewers clearing ways with, his blowtorch at the end of the film. But that was pretty much about it. The Blu-ray didn't do much better, neither one of them. Now, I didn't watch the Scream Factory Blu-ray in this collection, which is, of course, one of the other discs out of the 3 discs you have in here. I watched the 4K disc. But I imagine that the sound presentation on the 4K disc is exactly identical to one on the regular Blu-ray disc. Scream Factory fixed the issue. Now you actually have a sound presentation similar to that of the sound presentation on the VHS, which was down mixed from the DTS studio sound presentation that the movie had in 1995. Which means that it's very surround effect heavy. You actually finally have things that travel around the room. It makes very good use of vertical engines on soundbars as well, which is why I watch movies now. And what's cool about my soundbar, my Sony soundbar, is you can actually watch it in this is legit baseline DTS HDMA, or you can up that up to a 7.1.2 configuration, where you have even more audio effects going around with what's known as AI audio enhancement. I usually watch them without that, but this had a lot more effects flying around than what I'm used to in the past with it, so they definitely did something to it that makes it a whole lot better. As for the picture, this film has never looked this good before, and I've seen every format of this movie. And this is definitely my preferred version, my preferred way of watching Species. The HDR10 definitely makes some of those very dark scenes pop out. There's a sense of a really good balance of neutrals, cools, and warms when it comes to the color grading of the film. And now that was probably somewhat due to its original 2K restoration for the Scream Factory Collector's Edition Blu-ray. But it goes a massive step forward with the 4K HDR10 and Dolby Vision that this film has. Now, my 4K display does not have Dolby Vision. It's strictly an HDR10, but that did not stop at all from this movie disappointing me. The HDR10 definitely popped out in this. Now, this is an older movie. It's 1995, so don't expect, No Time to Die or, Dune Part 1 or Aquaman type of, HDR10 use, which was when things get really spectacular. Or some really good Netflix film like Polar or Six Underground. You're not going to get, HDR like that. This is an older movie. But what you will get is a sharper picture, a lot better quality when it comes to the darker scenes. You'll have a lot more detail to the high resolution. Yeah, it's definitely worth the investment. I can definitely say that, and it definitely looks like an entirely different movie. Now, do I recommend it as one of the best 4Ks out there? No. No, I don't. But I can say this still, Scream Factory, with their 4K catalog titles, they've started ever since I reviewed Prince of Darkness and They Live a couple years ago. They have just done nothing but make me very happy, because all of their 4K catalog titles have definitely impressed me a lot. And this one definitely did. The only problem I have with most of the titles I'm going to be reviewing that are new is no Dolby Atmos on pretty much almost all of them, which is a bit of a shame, because that's something that I do miss from Scream Factory. When they first when they were first starting to do their 4K catalog titles, they were always making a standard to have Dolby Atmos on them. Now they really don't. It's very rare we actually find one that has Dolby Atmos on it. But that's all I really gotta say about 1995's Species. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you have not seen this movie, definitely watch it. Because I can say the same thing about every movie I'm reviewing this time around. Nightbreed, if you've never seen that film, definitely go watch it. Species, definitely go watch it. And that's all there's to say about this thriller. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys on the next one.